All right.
Oh, Heinrich, this is my friend, Roland.
He nods to you as he finishes filling another drink and passes it to someone sitting at the bar.
One last thing, Heinrich. Could I please have a glass of hot water, please?
He nods and says, "Oh, of course, of course. Give me. I'll have it. If you'll take a seat, I'll give it to you in just a minute."
Verstadt takes a seat.
I sit down next to Verstadt.
How much is it?
He he kind of looks back and he goes, "I'm sorry, for what, lad?"
The water. And I sort of smile down at Verstadt.
He forks a thumb at Vertstein and says, "Oh, for this lad here, I don't charge him for just a little thing of hot water."
Of course you don't.
I'd say make this your spot.
It was just a one-time thing. I don't usually pay... Never mind.
Well, you say it was one time. Do you remember when we first left Jettenberg and you haggled? Or rather, you increased the price you wanted to pay.
But it wasn't water specifically.
I think it's a symptom of the same issue, but I'll let it drop.
Heinrich busies himself, but after a few minutes, he gets you out a cup of some piping hot water, warns you to be careful before one of the tables flags him down. He walks over there without pause to greet them and start taking in an order.
Alright, I mix in my dose of medicine for the day.
Great.
Then I drink it.
Great. Nothing bad happens.
Yay! Awesome.
He makes the drink, he drinks the drink.
Great roleplay.
Good.
Then I guess Verve went to bed, right?
Yes.
So I will say to Wrist, so it's about, I don't know, a little afternoon. What are we doing with the rest of the day?
Well, I was thinking, if Roland wants to be joining up with them, there was a stack of books I asked the Academy to keep by on their exploits here that I'd like to go and have a peruse about if you wouldn't mind reading them for me. I could give you, the price of a hot cup of water for doing me the honor of reading them for me.
I see. Yes, I can read those.
Sure, I can do it.
Wait, you can read, Roland?
Yeah?
I feel... Can Verve read too?
I must say, I'm a little surprised you can read as well, but good for you. That is impressive.
Just comes from the people I knew. Some of them, anyway.
Well, don't I feel a fool? But yes, if either of you want to go down there and browse their exploits in the town in a more specific manner, I think it may be useful when we head back to Hagerdorf.
Alright, I'll want to head off to the academy.
Sure.
Minus a Verve.
It's okay, they wouldn't have let her in anyways.
Well, not without a fight, anyway. Alright, you make your way over to the academy, which we will have a new map for in the near future, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Ooh, you're so tiny on this map. Boop. Alright, you make your way in, and it's pretty quiet today. Not a lot of people around. There's a couple of the employees of the academy who are putting away and pulling out various books from the assorted shelves. You don't see the elderly man at the head table like you normally do, and there's also no sign of the Rune Lord.
Oh, good, the Toffs aren't here today. I think they were over in this corner.
You're looking for a particular person or a set of, like a set area?
They pulled out the stack of all the Bloody Hound books and set them down. It's been 2 days. I'm pretty sure someone's gone and put them away, but I'm just looking at the place where they set down the stack for me.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
I will inquire of the nearest person not with their nose in a book.
Okay, it takes a little bit to kind of flag somebody down without being obnoxious about it, but you do eventually get someone's attention. And as he walks over, he gives you a bit of a... He kind of looks you up and down and frowns. But he continues to approach and says, yes, what can I help you with?
Ah, hello. I talked to the head man, and I will describe the gray-bearded man I talked to earlier. He said that you had some books about the Bloody Hounds, that it would be good for me to go through. And I will gesture towards the shelves I remember them pulling 1 or 2 books from. Me and my friends came here to read to me exactly what was in those books, if you don't mind. I know there was some kind of small fee for the usage of the book.
He raises an eyebrow at you and says, the Bloody Hound records? Okay. And he walks over and he whispers. You notice that he does stop at a table and whispers into the ear of another individual before he stands up and continues on to start pulling out the books that do look similar to the ones you saw the last time you were here. And he brings them over before setting them on the table in front of you. And he says, we do charge a fee if you need someone to read it out to you.
I've got 2 fine strapping pairs of eyeballs, and I will point to Roland and Verdstadt, who apparently, despite not telling me, can read.
He frowns at the 2 of you and says, you're involved with this halfling?
What do you mean involved?
Yeah,
That's a cruel thing to say.
I actually get kind of confrontational and in the face, and I'm like, yeah, what of it? I step a little closer.
Roll intimidation.
Yay, one of the skills my character's built around.
Okay, he sort of steps away from you a good 2 steps. He retreats 2 steps and nervously kind of eyes your friend. He says, nothing. I wasn't meaning anything by it. Please enjoy your reading. We'll put up the books when you're done. And he very quickly hustles away.
I hustle after him real quick while these 2 get into the Red Hound books.
Okay, you pursue this man.
Alright, I grab him real quick. And I say, listen, my friend there was probably a little rough with you. But I am looking for a certain section of books. This section would not be accessible to most people who come in off the street. Do you get what I'm saying?
He gets more and more concerned looking as you continue talking. But he sort of he kind of like frowns at the end of your sentence and he goes, I'm sorry? Is there a particular volume you're looking for?
No particular volume. Just, you don't have a section that you perhaps don't allow other people in? Perhaps it's so considered, I don't know, too dangerous, I make air quotes.
He gets a very concerned look on his face. And he says, I'm sorry, sir, but this is a public forum, a place for people to gather and acquire wisdom. This isn't like a temple.
Oh, of course not. I was looking for the dirty book section.
Now he just looks at you disgusted and yanks his arm away and he just says through teeth, "If that will be all, sir."
Of course.
He glares. He gives you a very not happy glare and walks away.
I walk back to Wrist and Roland and say, that guy, he's just not the nicest of people.
Yeah, service with these types can be terrible. I like to move things along, as you saw.
Well, that's one way to move them along.
8 minutes.
Can't say I've ever been able to be as deft as that.
8 minutes and the guard shows
I
up.
look at the pile of books. Is the pile of books taller than me?
Not taller than you, but maybe if you were to stack them all together into one big pile, yes, definitely. But they're kind of separated into a few groups. Some of them seem to be more like articles or what you could loosely describe as like pamphlets, or not newspapers, but something along those lines. Some of them are outright wanted notices, and some of them are more like actual books.
I will flick through the wanted notices and other things that look familiar to me as a watchman. What are these all about?
Those there would be wanted posters, Wrist. So people who are wanted by the Empire for crimes. Yes.
Vertstat, I'm a watchman. I know what a wanted poster is. I just don't know what they're wanted for.
Oh, of course. And I start reading the names and what they're for.
Almost all of the listed crimes are pretty petty, such as disturbing the peace, acts of violence, assault, urinating in public, defecating in public, property damage, assaulting a noble. Like, they're kind of all over the place. Some of them do dip down into much more serious crimes and much more concerning crimes. There's a couple of murderers that are wanted. There are a couple men who have assaulted different individuals for much less savory things. It's a pretty nasty bunch, and there are a bunch of them, and you recognize quite a few of the faces on the posters. Not by name, but definitely by appearance.
I will gesture to one of them that's a murderer. Are you sure that's what it said? Because I did win a bunch of coin off of him, and now I'm concerned.
Right there below his name, it says wanted for homicide. So yeah, he definitely killed someone.
Maybe I won't gamble with him anymore.
Probably a good idea.
Or at least have me close at hand when you do.
That also sounds fun. Alright, so Sotek, my goal, at least with this, is to basically figure out, so that in the future, when I come into conflict with other members of the Bloody Hounds, I'll know some idea of their temperament when I try to get out of it.
Okay,
if I find someone in a tent that murders people, I don't go and poke them to make them angry.
Okay, you do your best to commit a fair amount of them to memory, at least to the best of your ability. But, excuse me, goodness. It doesn't take too long, though, for... Hold on, I need to find something. If I can find it.
Does the halfling look anything like a watchman?
No, to your view, he looks more like some kind of... If you had to guess, he's a halfling, so you wouldn't think him a very dangerous one, but he almost looks like more of a criminal syndicate member, or maybe a particularly rough and tumble thief. Like, he doesn't look particularly sneaky enough to be a thief, but he definitely looks like he is at the very bottom tier of society. He looks like a bottom feeder.
Translation? We cool.
I mean, I am wearing a watch uniform. It's just not for this town.
I will
or even
say,
this area.
He does have a uniform, but in your mind, you feel very confident it's either stolen or unofficial. Or fabricated, I should say.
Yeah, like my garb kind of has some soldiery elements. Sort of a similar idea.
Yes, his does look a lot more professionally made, though. even if it's a little messed up from fighting and traveling. Oh,
All right, so you said something was happening?
I am grabbing something real quick. Give me half a sec.
Sure. So I will say to Roland real quick. I asked, and this library doesn't even have a how should I put this? Dramatic section. And I will wave my fingers about.
I sort of smile understandably, and I'm just like, nah, that probably wouldn't be here, would it?
You think every library has a hidden section?
Maybe they don't like us enough to show it.
Possibly.
Ferdstadt, I don't think they're gonna have that kind of thing here.
No, never mind. No, they didn't anyways.
Did you hear from Verve about her trip into here?
No, I don't believe so.
Have you noticed the little black scorch marks on the ground heading out?
Oh, that's right.
They got some kind of dwarf here that can stop her doing stuff.
Yes, now I recall.
So I don't think they'd be having that kind of book here. Plus, don't the witch hunters view that very dimly?
They do, but librarians and their knowledge, they like to keep it away.
All right, as y'all are talking among yourselves, you do hear a bit of hustle and bustle at the door, mostly due to like pieces of armor clanking together. And as you turn and look, you see the scholar that you accosted earlier speaking to 3 guards, and he points at the 3 of you, and one of the guards nods, who seems to be more in charge of the others, and they start walking at a little bit of a hustle, but pretty leisurely, over to your table.
What can we do for you, sirs?
One of them kind of frowns, and he looks at you, and the other 2 seem to wait, and he shakes his head and says, "Nah, they're not wanting for anything." And the one who seems to be in charge looks at the 3 of you, and he kind of leans pretty lazily on his spear and says, "All right, you 3, get out of here before we have to remove you."
Very well,
I
gentlemen.
thought I was welcome.
He raises an eyebrow at you, halfling, and he says, "Well, I don't have any reports about you," and he looks at you in particular, Vertstat, and says, "But we're not gonna have any people looking for public displays of indecency while they're here. We're not that kind of city, so you can just take your business elsewhere."
I was just looking for a little discretion.
He gives
Rist
you
will look at Verdstat in horror.
the guard will give you a very look, and then gesture for the 3 of you to leave, and he says, "I don't want to hear about you 3 causing any more trouble." And he kind of looks and he sees Roland, and his frown deepens, and he goes, "Especially you."
Come on, nothing you've never heard of before.
He
Nothing
points at
chargeable anyway.
He points at Wrist and says, "Don't you go getting associated with trouble again, Roland."
What? I'm not trouble.
He looks down at you, and
Yeah, he's a watchman. See?
the man crosses his arms and says, "Don't insult me. Now get out of here."
I will look at the big pile of books we didn't get to and say, it's probably all the same anyways. We should get out before Vergstat gets any weird ideas. And I will give him a suspicious glance.
I'll fill you in later.
I don't want to be filled in on that kind of filth.
the guard kind of like
And all after your lovely patronage of water. I just start leaving.
The one of the guards wiggles his spear in your vague direction, Roland, and says, "Don't be hanging out with these perverts. Now go on." All right, you make your way back to the city proper.
Yep.
Suddenly my scorch marks don't look so bad.
What the hell were they talking about?
Thought you said they didn't have any magic books.
I was looking for magic books but when they started asking what kind of books I wanted, I just defaulted to, I'm looking for, dirty books.
What?
It seemed less risky.
I will look at the 3 guards probably watching us from the entrance. That is your idea of less risky.
I mean, who pulls guards over for dirty books? It's an overreaction, Wrist, is what I say. Now, if I was looking for magic books, maybe.
Roland, does this town have some kind of, decency laws?
None that I've ever followed, other than the urinating and defecating in public we read about.
Oh, good. Well,
That's
maybe
the
it's
only
not that
decency law I can think of.
bad. Well, honestly, that's only a bit natural.
Not for I rattle off a couple of the guys whose names came up in the book.
Well, they honestly should have done it on other people's porches. Or front steps. Whatever they're called.
You did see one particularly heinous accusation from a man you're pretty sure his tent was next to your own, about his being in an orphanage. And the author was quite explicit that it was in, not out of, or around.
Oh.
Sorry, did Vertstad ever get a tent?
Ever get what?
Did Vertstad ever get a tent? I thought he was outside the whole time.
No, not Vertstad. You, Wrist.
I slept in the kitchen.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. Then someone that you saw in the kitchen very often.
Well, he's not getting in the kitchen anymore. Honestly, Maple wouldn't stand for it. But it does look like the sun's getting back a little down.
Yeah, the day's starting to drag on a bit. You still got time to go shop or do other stuff if you'd like, or you can turn in early.
Well, I look down at my shredded armor. I think it may be a good thing to stop by to see if I can get this fixed up.
That's a good
And
idea.
maybe, armor for everywhere else too.
Fair enough. And I have to see a tailor about some new robes, and I will look down at my ripped shirt.
Yeah, when y'all pass by, like, the higher class individuals, you're definitely getting some looks. Y'all are pretty derelict looking now.
I'm just gonna head in early.
Alright, we'll meet you at the Harry Troll Inn.
Roland, do you want to head to the inn or do you want to head home? 'Cause you, live here. So you have an option.
I would probably head to the inn if they already had, a place set up, which it kind of sounded that way.
They do. I mean, you don't have to stay the night there. You could wait until they show up and then go on your way. Or you could pay to stay there, too. Heinrich would appreciate the business.
Yeah, I don't have much money. I'm gonna go home.
Okay. Do you want to meet them there and go home later? Or do you want to just go straight home?
I guess I could chill around there, drink in hand.
Alright. So you head off to the inn. You other two, where are you going?
I would like to see a tailor about some robes.
Alright. That is not at all difficult to find. Though, if you will go ahead and roll me a easy, so plus 40 gossip check, just so I can figure out what kind of tailor you end up at, that would be great. Okay. You do manage to find a tailor in the wider merchant district. His stuff is very obvious and easy to find. And as you head in, there's people perusing, but he seems to just kind of be quaintly waiting for anyone to approach.
I approach. Hello. Would you happen to sell any robes? I'm looking for something that's perhaps a deep crimson or maybe even a brighter red.
He kind of looks you up and down and scratches at his chin. He takes a little piece of cloth with a lot of markings upon it, and he walks up to you and says, "If you could stretch out your arms."
Of course, and I will act like I haven't done this before.
Okay, he takes your measurements, which is as awkward as it usually is in real life, and then he steps to the counter and kind of murmurs to himself, and then he looks up and he goes, "Were you looking to have something custom fitted, or just buy something loosely the correct size?"
Loosely the correct size would be fine if you had it.
He nods and leans forward to point to, there are 3 doors basically leading into 3 smaller rooms, and he points to the one closest to him and says, "Head in there, check on the left."
Alright, I head in there, check on the left.
Alright, you do find a series of robes that are loosely your size. The colors that you find available are some pretty dull browns. You find a couple of reds, ranging from fairly dull, like almost kind of heading towards the brownish hues, all the way up to the very bright, popular Reichland color. And you see a couple of yellow ones as well, and there is a single blue one. But other than that, the colors are rather lacking.
Alright, I will grab the Reichland red colored one.
Okay.
And I will bring it back out to the counter.
Alright, he nods and says, "Try it on, sir. There's no returns."
Very well. Don't like that, but very well. I try it on.
Alright, it's a good enough fit. It's nothing spectacular.
Alright. I will say I will take it.
He nods and says, "That'll be 4 gold, sir."
Very well. Verstat hands over 4 gold.
You're not even gonna try?
Oh, I'm allowed to. Yes, I will haggle. So I will say, look at the state of my current attire, sir. These robes are direly needed. Would you consider a discount of any kind?
Going for the pity angle. Interesting.
Well, the broke college student is so good at it.
So just a base haggle check?
Yeah, not bad. He looks you up and down, and his smile kind of gradually fades to like a thin lip, and then he just outright frowns at you, and he goes, "I remember when I was just a poor student at the local academy. Fine, I'll let you get away for 2.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I will hand over 2 gold.
He nods to you and sets about going over to help someone else who flags him down.
So what do I just what did I just have added to my inventory?
Pair of robes.
Okay.
Common. Nothing super special about them. All right. Wrist, what are you doing?
I need to get my leather jack repaired, buy some leather pants and a skull cap, and then find some spices for food.
Goodness. Okay. So, roll me a gossip check, and do you want to try and find a tailor that specializes in leather or a smith that specializes in leather?
Let's go with a smith.
Okay.
Just average gossip?
Yeah.
Or challenging?
Plus 20. Yeah, that'll do it. All right, you look around for a good while. You talk to people. You strike up some friendly conversations. You even get to speak with a dwarf briefly. And eventually, you find out that there's a guy who is really well known for not only selling a lot of different types of armors, but he is very considerate of smaller than human customers. Although he's a human smith, he tends to specialize in specialty sizes. So he'd probably be your best bet.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll be checking him out and letting him know that you sent me his way.
All right, you make your way there, and he's a pretty peculiar man for a smith because he's a lot more rotund than you're used to. Instead of being bulk muscles or thin but lean, he's got a lot of roundness to him. He seems to be a man that very much enjoys his sweets. And as you enter, he finishes. He's kind of sewing away at a set of leather to get it properly to the acute thickness, and he looks up and he says, "Ah, a halfling! What a delight!"
Ah, good evening, sir. I'm Wrist Fumblefoot.
And he nods and say, "Very well, Mr. Wrist Rumblefoot. You can call me Allrand, and what can I do for you today?"